Public Information Officer. So I thought maybe this morning we'd just start out by giving you just a few statistics before I turn the podium over to Director Cotter for some operational updates. We opened up our sandbag operations yesterday afternoon. Yesterday about 50 people went through that operation in the hours that it was open, and we passed out 1,200 sandbags to people as they came through. The law enforcement officers issued 17 citations yesterday to people that went around barricades or entered parks. And I would just remind everybody that when we say the parks are closed and we're offering or issuing citations, that's not only for Falls Park, that's for all parks that are closed along the Greenway system. 211 Helpline Center has received 483 flood-related calls since this event started last Wednesday. They've got 62 people that have called and offered and volunteering time to help people that need assistance. They've had 66 people calling and asking for assistance, and they are functioning as our coordinating organization to match volunteers up with people's needs. They have received several requests from people needing assistance that live outside of Sioux Falls but in the county. So I do want to remind everyone that 211 is a resource for people outside the county. If you do have needs or if you want to volunteer, please certainly contact them. They do at this point have about 70 people that have called in and volunteered and are scheduled to work at sandbag operations, and they asked us to remind people that at this time, if you're willing to offer to donate to support people impacted by the flooding event, that at this point we're really only asking for monetary donations. We don't have any identified needs for household items, clothing, toys, things like that. So donations would be best served if you want to support people through monetary donations. An update on Parks Department operations. So right now Parks crews are out going along the parks along the River Greenway that we anticipate will be impacted. They're removing any of their items that could potentially float. So picnic tables, soccer nets, things like that are all being removed out into higher grounds. They're working to plug all the sewer and floor drains in the restrooms along the River Greenway and Parks buildings. And then they'll be going out to the new bridge on Rotary Park, that pedestrian bridge that was just installed, and taking away the handrails. They stayed intact last week in spite of all the debris in the river. We're going to take them down to protect them at this point. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Director Cotter.
Thank you, Sandy. Good morning. Just want to give you an update. There's just been a great deal of collaboration that's happening at the federal level, the state level, the county level, and the city level. And to update you on some of the updates we got this morning and to know what's coming before us. Essentially what we heard this morning from the river hydrologists is that those flows that they've been predicting are essentially staying consistent with the temperatures and the snow melt that they're finding upwards in the basin. And so those forecasted flows that we talked about yesterday are still on par from what we're planning for. The preparation operations are coming together really well for the public sandbag needs and the at the customer site as well. And so those activities are going really well. Just again want to kind of highlight some of those operational times so people know what's to be expected out there. So the location again is at Sherman Park, entering off Kiwanis. It's got really good circulation as you pull in there. There's multiple sites where the sand is, so all the different customers can spread out and work to get their necessary sandbags. It's 25 bags per trip. And part of that is just flow. We want people to actually come in there, fill 25 bags, go set those, and if you want to come back for another load, you certainly can. The hours of operation are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. We'd like to have the last car through at 7, so they have adequate time to actually fill and then move through. Shovels are provided, but again, we want to highlight 25 bags per trip, and you can come through as many times as you see fit. If you'd like to volunteer to help, as Sandy had mentioned, 211 is a great resource. And also if you need assistance, to contact 211. They've received, I think, over 500 calls yesterday. We heard at various levels of needing assistance and wanting to provide assistance, and just a real community impact that's taking place here to get people ready. Again, we're going to continue to monitor the river levels and the snow melt, and if there's any change that would change our preparations, we'll certainly let you guys know. We're really fortunate to have the media that's this consistent time at 11 o'clock so we can get that information out. We've talked in the last 2 days, we remain operationally ready. Where our pumps were at this last weekend, they're still in place. They've been serviced, and so they're ready to run if we need to. We are finalizing a door hanger, and so this door hanger essentially starts out by saying our records indicate that your property is located in or near the FEMA 100-year floodplain, and then has some really good critical information on it. The key piece here is that to go to siouxfalls.org/flood. That's where it's going to be our key landing page to get information for people that want to stay informed. But we will have teams of people going out. These are getting printed today, and we expect to start no later than tomorrow morning, putting these on door hangers of those homes and businesses that are either located in or near the FEMA floodplain. In addition to that, through our utility billing software, last night we did a push call. We call it our IVR system, to actually communicate most of the same facts that are on this door hanger. And it's really more to bring people to situational awareness. You know, there's a lot of different ways for people to get informed and get their news today, and so we wanted to take that additional step. Had some really good stats. We placed 373 calls, 309 messages were delivered, and then very minor, 5 busy signals, 17 no answers, and 42 disconnected numbers. And so overall, there's going to be a layered approach on how we reach our neighborhoods that are either in or near the FEMA floodplain. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers are here, and they're really a great resource to give us technical assistance on either how we protect some of the public assets. Right now, currently, we're meeting with the 2 railroads, the DNI and the BNSF, that have closure structures that actually go through the levee system. So one of the key things that happens if the Big Sioux River levels rise as forecasted, we know we're going to have to actually remove those tracks that are near those levee closures and actually set those closure structures. So today is to put them on notice and to really start that communication that if that's needed to happen, so that they're also prepared. The Army Corps of Engineers also provided us a sandbagging machine that came out of Omaha. It's going really well, and we're working with DOC inmates to keep those operational on 2 8-hour shifts. We are expecting, anytime we have a high river events, we're expecting the wastewater flows at the plant to increase. And so we're starting to drain out that system today to get ready for those flows next week. One of the things that homeowners can do is you can go to a plumbing supply store, and there are devices that you can put in your floor drains that allow for one-way flow. And that does give you some additional protection that if a wastewater backup were to occur in your neighborhood, that gives you, at least for backups that would actually just surface at the floor drain, that it would protect the property. So we're gonna work to get you one tomorrow so you can see one, and just understand that the nice thing about those is that they still allow flow to go one direction. So if you're washing out your utility room, water can still go down the floor drain, just water or wastewater can't come back up. So we'll give you some additional information on that. And then last, as always, sump pumps, as we start to see this melt, there's a lot of groundwater from loading up in 2018. Make sure your sump pump lines are pulled away from your house. And right now, just put them on your driveways, allow them to run on hard surface so no more water goes into the ground. And that'll be best to protect the wastewater system, but also your house. So that's what I have. I think we'll bring up Jason from Minnehaha County next. Thanks.
Jason Gierman with Minnehaha County Emergency Management. I'll focus today on Del Rapids. That's where we're going to see, I think, most of our flooding issues. We're getting very close to opening up a sandbagging station up in Dells, and we'll be looking for volunteers for that. Contact 211. This will be a public station generally for county residents. So if you're in the county, you're welcome to come up there. It should be open 24/7. Again, things may change as things progress, but that's what our plan is right now. The predictions have been pretty consistent with what we've been giving you in the past, and Del Rapids, Baltic, Renner, and then farther north of that too, of areas of concern is Flandreau and Trent. Obviously, Moody County is aware of that, but that's kind of where we're at now as far as the county resources. Brandon, they're currently assisting homeowners there and bagging a small area of Brandon. There will be an informational meeting tonight with all the fire departments and townships, and we'll get that information out to them on how we progress into the weekend. And when the timeline of this is looking like Sunday evening, Monday, Tuesday, especially in the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday range, where we're going to get some high water up in the Del Rapids area.
So are there any questions we can help you with yet today?
Jason, the public information meeting, is that for Minnehaha County residents, or is that just for?
That's just for fire chiefs, city officials. It's not generally to the public, but townships are invited, and they do have that information.
And then do you think you guys will have the sandbagging station open by this afternoon?
I'm hoping any minute it will be open. We're getting everything ready right now. So.
Will you send out a press release?
Yes, we will.
Okay.
Yep. Anything else for me?
Any other questions we can help with?
You mentioned 211 helpline is available to county residents. Is it only Minnehaha County, or can Lincoln County residents call this as well?
Regan, are they 211? It's also in Lincoln County,
Yes.
isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. So Minnehaha and Lincoln County can both call into 211. Thank you.
Mark, you mentioned that you were in talks with the NSF about the railroad tracks, and in the event we have to rip those up, are there city employees practicing ripping those up so that they can do it as quickly as possible?
No, actually, that'll be the railroads that do that work. We just facilitate it. So when the levee system was constructed and was designed, that was a key piece we had to work through because, for the majority of the time, since the levee system has been built, they've never had to be closed. And so if you generally drive north on Minnesota Avenue and 60th Street, where near those railroads cross either Minnesota, 60th Street, or the levee adjacent to it, you'll see where the levee comes up and then dives down. That's where those closure structures will go in. We house the closure structures, so we have a dedicated building that when the levee was built, the part of the project through the federal, state, and local funding was to build a building that has these closure structures ready to go and to be deployed at a moment's notice. This one takes a little bit more effort because of in some cases, the tracks have to come out. So the operational manual basically says when we hit a certain flow at Del Rapids, we've got to notify them. When it hits the next flow, they've got to mobilize. And then when it hits the third flow, that's in the criteria, they've actually got to remove the track, put the closure structure in, and get ready for the high flows. So those meetings actually started to happen this morning at 10:30, and all parties are aware of it. We just got to make sure that everyone has time to make those necessary precautions. But they're a good engineered closure system. They'll work just fine.
How many people from the Army Corps are here?
There's 2 people here from Omaha, and again, they're experts, and they've been on the phone with their partners in Omaha, and they're just great technical resource to have here to really help us understand, even in last night where it got fairly cold, how that might help us even on a matter of hours. And because we are planning these peak flows, these are going to be over a broad period of time. These won't be short crests and then come back down. There's a lot of water in both the Big Sioux River and the Skunk Creek Basin, And so we've got to be ready to endure these peaks for a pretty significant period of time, several days.
What's your, a lot of preparedness, but Mark, what's your biggest fear or one of your concerns?
I think,
know the answer is you're ready to go and nothing.
Right.
But what keeps you up at night?
well, what keeps us up at night if it warms up quicker than what they're planning for and the melt happens faster, and then it just accelerates everything and it'll drive those flows up beyond forecast. And just like everything's got a rated capacity, and we don't want to push over those capacity limits. And so that's why it's so important to get an update every morning. We get one at 9 and 3 from the hydrologists about what the weather forecast is, what they're seeing, how helpful it was to have Civil Air Patrol fly the Skunk Creek Basin yesterday and then, or 2 days ago, and then we had a whole other team go up between Brookings and Flandreau area to start taking core samples of the snow, making sure the models are calibrated. They're essentially, everything's trekking out right on. So our biggest fear right now is the speed of the melt.